guys! I came up with the idea of making this video when I saw your responses to a video I made a while ago called How to Deal with Crappy Instruments. My piccolo kind of sucks. But it's taken me this long to get around to this subject because talking about conductors can be a very touchy situation. Conductors are kind of seen as the rulers, the ultimate masters, the gods of the music world. I mean, the baton that they're holding, it's basically a wand. And they really are using the Imperio curse on you. At least that's what it feels like, usually. It would explain why it feels so terrifying to hit a wrong note. But even with conductors, or wizards, I guess, just like there are good singers and bad singers, there are also good conductors, which there are many, and there are also bad conductors, of which there are also, unfortunately, very many. I'm just gonna put a disclaimer out there that what I am talking about in this video does not apply to every conductor, but I have quite possibly experienced the worst of them. Do not ask me who these people are, because I am not going to tell you. And without further ado, here are my worst experiences with bad conductors and how I dealt with them. Number 1, the circle. The great part about this kind of conducting is that it doesn't matter what meter it's in. It's a circle. For example, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, and you get it. Same thing with compound meters. 6/8 looks like a 2/4, 9/8 looks like a 3/4, etc., etc. They're all circles. There are a couple of ways to deal with this. If you're not in the principal chair, you're in luck. Follow the principal chair. If you are in the principal chair, follow the other principal chairs in the sections around you. Listen to a recording of the piece so you know how it goes. Watch to see when the conductor is happy about how you're following his circular pattern. And what I mean by this is which parts of that circle is the downbeat and which parts of that circle are the weak beats. So sometimes you might have a bigger circle for the downbeat and you might have a smaller circle for a weak beat. Or the weak beat can fall somewhere in that circle. It can be really anywhere. There are some different schools of thought with conducting where the downbeat sometimes is right at the bottom of their flick, or when they do their flick, it's like up here. So really you don't know where the downbeat is until you get yelled at a couple of times. And lastly, of course, go with your gut and follow the group. It's basically a herd mentality at this point. Number 2, the pointer. More often than not, this is a semi-untrained conductor, which means that most likely the cue that you are getting is right when you're supposed to play. There are no upbeats and no preparation for you. This means it's up to you, the player, to know when your solo comes in, and you have to anticipate the conductor, even though it's usually the other way around. It is actually kind of hilarious when you anticipate the conductor and then you come in exactly when they point at you, because they don't really understand why other people are not coming in when they point. So your colleagues might kind of hate you a little bit, but you know, things go a little bit smoother and there's not as much time wasted on your solo, at least. You also have to keep in mind that vigorous pointing usually ruins the mood of the piece. Again, it is up to you, the player, to exaggerate the mood of the piece so that it doesn't sound so jilted. And lastly, don't take the pointing too seriously. It kind of feels like you're on the receiving end of a bee about to sting your eye several times. I realize that is a very strange metaphor, but yeah, you get it. If you take it too seriously, you're probably gonna mess up. They're not actually casting a spell on you. Number 3, the wave. Now, I'm not talking about like this kind of wave. I'm talking about like wave. This one's a tricky one because some really awesome conductors do use the wave. But the wave conducting that I'm talking about applies to the conductors who have pretty bad rhythm. i.e. inconsistent rhythm, or a complete misunderstanding of how the rhythm is actually supposed to go. It's easy to get seasick watching this kind of conducting, especially if it's going on for the entirety of the rehearsal. You actually want to keep your eyes glued to the music and use your peripheral vision to kind of see where the beats are and look super concentrated. I find that it does help these sorts of conductors at least feel like you're trying as hard as they are. Again, you are probably going to be yelled at a couple of times while you figure out where in that wave that downbeat is. Sometimes a bigger wave is the downbeat and smaller waves are the weak beats. But I have had the experience where every single beat, regardless of strong or weak, is the exact same wavelength. That gets pretty confusing. And in that case, you are definitely going to need to listen to a recording or at least know the music well enough that you know where you are without the help of the wavy conductor. After a while, you will get the hang of where the conductor is pushing and pulling. Anticipate. Now, whether or not this push or pull is rubato or just bad rhythm depends on the piece. So there you go. Those are my very general tips on how to follow a very bad conductor. I am pretty positive that every single musician, whether you are a student or you are a professional, you have experienced bad conductors. If you are an aspiring musician, do not fantasize about always being under some like great conductor where you'll always know where you come in and they'll always prep you with an upbeat and stuff like that. No, you are probably gonna run into a bad conductor. But you know, sometimes you will be with a great conductor and you'll know. And sometimes you will be with a bad conductor and you will also definitely know. Do you guys have experience with bad conductors? And if so, how did you cope? Let me know in the comments below. As always, my last video is over there. My social network stuff is down there. Subscribe to catch my next video. Take care, and I'll see you there. Bye. I came up with the idea of making blah, 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 blah. I came up with the idea of making this blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. The gods, the ultimate masters, the, what did I say? Rulers, yes. Let me start that again.